So again, thank you for joining us today. We're going to talk about some of the basics of recycling. So what the heck can go in the blue bin? You know, whether you have curbside pickup or you have a transfer station that you go to. And then also we're going to go into some advanced stuff like textiles and batteries and some of those funkier items that you're not too sure what to do with. So let's start off with the basics. So when we have recycling, we usually have containers, and these are containers that come from food and from packaging. So we could have cartons from milk, you know, bottles from juice, pasta jars, you know, if you take vitamins, vitamin jars, soup cans, you know, yogurt cups, hummus. I love hummus. I've been eating a lot of that lately. Like we have plastic, we have glass, we have all of these different containers. I'm only putting them all in front of us now so that you can get an idea of what we're thinking about when we're talking about standard recycling. So when it comes to recycling, we can have our entire lives just inundated with recyclable materials. Like we want to enjoy a cold beverage, you know, so it comes in glass or aluminum, or, you know, a lot of things come in plastic these days. If you're ordering takeout during the, you know, currently we're all at home, maybe we don't want to cook, you know, we get these takeout containers. I like to buy my leafy greens in bulk. Right now, I can't buy them in bulk, so I have to buy them in some sort of plastic container. You know, these are just some standard things that you might have in your home. Bills, boxes for pasta, menus, just all these different things. So when you are thinking about your basic recyclable materials, I want you to think about, is this material, like, can this material actually be recycled? Can this be turned into, by one process or another, a usable material? Like thinking about like a basic raw material. Can this bottle be crushed down and turned into something else? It is a commodity, meaning that it is going to be turned into something else. So how can that be turned into something else? Is that process simple? And is that, like, am I doing the best I can to make sure that process is as smooth as possible? So here's an example of what I mean. So if you have a peanut butter jar or a yogurt jar or something like that, and there's junk left inside of it, that can't be turned into something that is usable. So here's a yogurt, like there's still plenty of yogurt in this, but like, let's say I'm done with this yogurt. This is not recyclable, because if this were to travel to the recycling facility, it's unlikely that the cap is going to stay on. But they're not going to want to turn this into, it's got food in it, it's got junk in it. This is not recyclable by the terms that, like in the terms that we think is recyclable, because it's got junk in it. It's too hard for them. They're not going to take, you know, the thousands of people that recycle in every town, they're not going to take and wash all of our recyclables for us so that they can have the plastic to then turn into something else. It's just too hard. So it is our duty as people who are recycling, we need to make sure that we are doing our best when we recycle. So when we're recycling containers, we want to make sure that they are clean. So these are just some sauce cups that I got from Thrive, the vegan place in Pittsfield, if you're ever interested. I'm not a fan of plastic. I'm not going to do my plastic talk today, because it would be a whole other hour. But when I do get plastic, I have to think to myself, is it recyclable? And if it is it recyclable at our local facility? So how we get there, so outside of cleaning it, because this had like a blue cheese sauce that wasn't actually blue cheese, I rinsed it, I cleaned it. So that's the point I was making a moment ago. But in order to tell if something is recyclable, yes, sometimes we can use the recycling symbol. You guys are all familiar with the recycling symbol on plastic. So there's one on the bottom of this. It says a number 1 in the middle, and it says PETE. With plastics, that number in the middle of the recycling symbol reflects the type of plastic that is used to make that bottle. So the plastic that is used to make this bottle may not be the same plastic that is used to make this yogurt can, which I'm right. This is a number 5. This is a number 1. Now we have to be careful, because if we only rely on the recycling symbol and we throw it all into our cart, we could potentially be contaminating. That means to be putting something in the recycling bin that doesn't belong. We could be contaminating the recycling stream. So what happens is when we bring all of our recyclables out to the curb or to our transfer station, we are trying to put only things that are recyclable in there. If you were to throw something in your recycling bin that you're unsure, and it's like maybe 1 or 2 things, it's not that big of a deal. But most recycling facilities operate on a 5 to 8% contamination threshold. They don't have the manpower to take everything out of the recycling stream that comes in from the residents and then sort it into what should be trash. Or let's say you throw in like a textile, like I'll talk about textiles in a little bit. This is just a oven mitt. Like they're not going to recycle that for you. They're not going to put that in the correct stream. They're just going to throw it away. So when we are entering in or putting our recycling out to the curb or to the transfer station, and we exceed that 5 to 8% threshold, 5 to 8, because it really depends. If like it could be like 5% milk all over everything, like most of it is paper, but because there's milk all over everything, that means that threshold has been met, and that load, which is in tons, can be rejected, meaning that the facility says this is not clean enough recycling, it's got to go. And that means that not only have you paid the truck to bring it to the recycling facility, but now you're paying even more for that truck to pick it back up, crane load it, and then bring it to a landfill or an incinerator. You're like, you're doubling the amount of money that your town or the people that your neighborhood, you're doubling the cost of recycling, and you're not even recycling as an endpoint. So it's very important to not have to decrease the amount of contamination as much as possible. And I'll talk about the recycling facility a little bit more in the process of that in a second. But when we are recycling, it's actually there's in the Berkshires, we have this different zones, I'll call them. We have Northern Berkshire, which is Adams and North Adams and Cheshire and Clarksburg and Florida. All of those small towns in North Adams, up there, they're part of the Northern Berkshire Solid Waste District. And actually North Adams just joined them. So happy combination for them. So they have their recycling, they have specific things that go into their recycling bins, and it goes up to a facility up in Vermont. Wouldn't it make sense for Lionstown to send their recycling materials all the way down to Springfield when they have one right over the border? And then the second group of the Berkshires, most of it is like Central and Southern County. Not all of Southern, the rest of the county participates in this group. Some of them have only private haulers. I think Lenox is an example where that town only has private haulers, and every resident and public group has to hire out their own hauler, and they have their own regulations. So just to be clear, we have our Northern Berkshire Solid Waste District, which is Northern Berkshires and up, and so they go to a facility up in Vermont. And then we have most of the towns in Central and Southern Berkshire that are bringing their materials down to the MRF, okay? Since we're all in Massachusetts, there is one website that we can go to make sure that we are putting the proper stuff in the recycling bin. And that website is called recyclesmartma.gov. Pretty sure it's .gov. If you type in Recycle Smart Massachusetts, Recycling Massachusetts, whatever, Massachusetts Recycles, it'll come up with this website. And essentially what this website is it gives a general overview of all of Massachusetts from Cape Cod all the way up to, you know, Williamstown, all of Massachusetts, generally what is acceptable in your blue bin. So if you were to follow those guidelines, you're good. Now, if you're in one of the MRF towns, the recycling facility in Springfield, MRF, if you're in a MRF town, which is most of the towns in central and southern Berkshire, then you can actually go to the materials recycling facility website, which I believe is springfieldmrf.org. Again, Google it, Springfield MRF, Springfield Recycling Facility, and then they actually have a really pretty colored document of like all of the things that can go in. And it might be a little, it might have more stuff on it, on that website, than the recyclesmartma.org website, just because our recycling facility, this is actually the only dual stream recycling facility in Massachusetts. So it makes sense that they will have something a little bit different acceptable materials in that facility than in a standard single stream. And then for Northern Berkshire Solid Waste, Northern Berkshire Solid Waste District, you want to go to their website to make sure that you are putting all of the things in your bin from that area that belong in yours. But again, Recycle Smart is a great place to start. And that's where I tell everybody to go, just because I'm not sure, you know, if they have a private hauler, if they subscribe to the municipal, the city or town trash, etc. So that is what you want to rely on to see if anything is recyclable. Because of course, we want to recycle paper, we want to recycle plastic. We don't want this stuff to go in our trash because we want it to be turned into something else. We just have to be careful not to contaminate it with either goop and junk and not washing and I'll talk about washing in a second, but not washing our containers. And then we'd also don't want to contaminate it with things that just don't belong. So just to let you know that most of the things here, I'm going to go into a second what things aren't. Most of the things here are recyclable. I actually took them out of my recycling bin. I cheated a little bit. But I just want to talk about washing real quick. Using that 5 to 8% threshold, if you are scraping the peanut butter jar free of like all of the good usable peanut butter, you're probably pretty good. But if you want to, what you can do is warm up some, like turn on the faucet, get it warm, put it into the peanut butter jar. I'm gonna use this pasta jar as an example, and shake it, get like the loose junk out of it, and then let it go. Because you don't need to put it in the dishwasher. If you want to, great. I mean, if you don't like put out your recycling, or if you do your recycling like once a month, great. You know, wash your jar, but you don't need to. You just like a quick rinse and you're good. This pasta jar, I keep all of my jars for my workshops. As you can imagine, I have like 100 right now. But with glass jars, you can actually keep the lid, if it's metal, on the jar. And when at least for the MRF, the materials recycling facility, what they do is when they crush the glass, the machine crushes it, it applies a lot of pressure. All caps, plastic, cork, metal, all of them pop off, and they get sifted out. Only glass is going to end up in like perhaps like a little bit of paper. All of the caps actually end up on a different conveyor belt, and certain lids are magnetic, and those can actually be recycled to become metal. Not all the time, but if I'm recycling my glass jars and I have a metal lid, you bet I'm going to be putting that metal lid on that jar to be sent to the materials recycling facility. Now, in the case where you have a glass jar with a plastic lid, so this is a glass jar and it has a plastic lid, this is just going to be thrown away. There is no value in a little bit of plastic. To the recycling facility, there is no value. Not that there isn't value in total, but to the facility, there is no value in this tiny little cap. So this is just going to end up in a pile of other plastic caps and broken things and plastic and paper and corks, and this is just going to end up being thrown away. In instance, I mean, if you can keep your jars, if you're like worried about, oh, well, I want that plastic cap to be recycled, you can keep your jar and put something else in it. These dark jars are really good for things that are sensitive to light. So hydrogen peroxide, if you want to make a cleaner with hydrogen peroxide, you put it in a dark jar, things like that. There's tons of uses, but that's another whole other workshop. Where was I going? So that's glass. You know, just do your best to try to make sure that those are clean for the glass. And a little note about glass, which is that glass, the most recyclable glass is actually clear glass. Now this is getting more into the advanced stuff. Clear glass is easy to use because it's clear. You can melt it and reform it, and it's still clear. The difficulty with our blue, our green, our brown glass is that it's not as recyclable. It doesn't, you know, it's hard for the recycling facility to sort those colors. They don't have somebody stationed sorting blue, green, brown. Back in the day, we used to do that at home, but we don't do that anymore. And essentially, it's just dark colors and clear. A lot of the time, they can go together into a mix. But if they're going to get a profit, like a really good profit from glass, it's going to be from clear glass and not necessarily from the darker colors. The reason why I bring that up is because if you're, for some reason, in the store and you have the option of buying something in a clear glass bottle versus a dark glass, like that almost never happens. But you know, now you know that clear glass has more of a value. The one thing that you do want to avoid in your glass recycling is you don't want to put in any drinkware, like your household glasses. You don't want to put in your Pyrex or anything like that. Those are specifically engineered to not break, and they do break, but they're specifically engineered not to break. So that means that there's something inside of that glass that isn't recyclable. So just, you know, sticking to the containers that you get from the grocery store, and you should be good. All right, so I think I'm good for talking about glass now. Oh, beer bottles, same thing. You can put the cap back on if you want the metal to try to be recycled. But actually, you know what? I'll talk about small objects now. So beer caps and small little aspirin bottles. Let me fix my phone real quick. It's trying to tell me something. Okay, I don't know if it kept recording or not, but hello, Instagram. I'm sorry if it paused you for a second, but we're here. So small objects. So if you have a bottle cap on top of a bottle and it's secured there, it's possible that it will get recycled when the bottle is crushed and the cap floats off and then is magnetic and can go into the metal bin. But other small objects, like small aspirin bottles, like you get like the 10 pack or the 10 pills in the little bottle, and even possibly these little dip cups, they might be too small for the facility. So when your recycling is picked up, whether it's from the transfer station, wherever, it eventually arrives in a big truck at the recycling facility. And at that point, depending on the truck, it's either pushed out of the truck by like a compactor, or it's dumped by a dump body type of truck. And then what the recycling facility does is it analyzes, first of all, is this like trash? Like how much stuff is in this recycling? And then they say, okay, it's good, it's bad, it's like whatever. And then they like push it off to the side, or you know, and then eventually they decide, all right, we're ready for this recycling. And then what they do is they use a bulldozer, but it's, you know, special for the size of the facility. It pushes the recycling over into a bay that goes up onto a conveyor belt. At that point, there are some things that are going to happen where it's going to try to take up like everything out of the recycling that makes sense, that's quick and easy to do before it actually gets to any manual sorters, meaning somebody picking things by hand and throwing them into this special type of plastic bay. So on these conveyor belts, when they are first going up, think about a conveyor belt. There's got to be space between the actual belt going up and the, you know, the bar or the beams that are the frame. So something like this little cup, this little sauce cup, I'm going to recycle this. I think that this is going to fit. The number you want to go by is 3 inches. So if your little aspirin bottle is like less than 3 inches, and you kind of want to think about it in like all different ways, you want to think about like, you know, sideways, you know, something can be 3 inches this way, but then it's, you know, not wide enough. For the plastic mixed containers, you want to make sure that it's at least 3 inches. So this, I'm guessing, is going to fit. A bottle cap, for example, if it was loose, not going to fit. It's going to fall through and it's just going to get thrown away. So you don't want to put in any tiny small materials that are going to fall through the conveyor belt. Another note about this conveyor belt system. When it's going up, they also have things called optical sorters, where they just shoot laser beams and they see, you know, oh, what's this? What's that? Like how, like if a laser beam were to hit this, it's going to go through. And so it might pick that up. If it hits, you know, this, it knows that it's solid. Like it's just got these lasers. It's a smart system. It's an expensive system, and it's going to, you know, they're going to like pick out the certain types of plastic and materials. Might you know, actually I'll talk about them in a second, but those optical sorters are actually splitting things off into different areas. They might pick, it might just, you know, change down the conveyor belt line. It might say, okay, everything go this way because it's a lot of plastic, or everything go this way and then go that way because we have a lot of aluminum. One thing I will say about optical sorters is that it cannot read black plastic. It cannot sense black plastic. Black plastic is not recyclable friendly. And there's a few reasons why. The first being is black plastic is very hard to recycle. Similar to darker colored glass that we were talking about before, dark plastic is very hard to recycle. It's already as dark as it can get. It's very hard to lighten, and it's very hard to use in other capacities. If you had all black plastic, like this is an Applebee's container from takeout. If you had all black plastic, it'll load like a ton of it. Then yeah, you could probably sell it to be recycled, to be turned back into this type of black plastic. But like this container right here, this entire container might just get thrown away because it has black plastic. I will also note that black plastic is not healthy for the environment. The reason why it's black for our food is because it reduces the amount of light that it lets in, and we don't want light to get into our food and, you know, like, I don't know, do anything with it, like heat it up, make it moist or whatever. We want to protect our food in takeout containers, which is why, you know, a lot of takeout containers are not see-through. They're in paper, they're, you know, they're in clear plastic with a black bottom. And black plastic is actually, it's a plastic that has a lot of chemicals inside of it. In addition to the chemicals that come with regular plastic, black plastic has a lot of chemicals that are bad for our food anyways, because it's trying to, again, prevent light from getting in. And it's just black plastic. If you look it up if you don't believe me, but it's not good for recycling facilities, as I mentioned, and it's not good for our food. So this container, what I'm likely going to do is, not likely, what I am going to do is I'm going to separate the top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the top, if it's the same number, I think it's a 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the same number It's hard to see. But if I have a piece of plastic that I'm not sure it's like gonna get to where it's gonna go, maybe it falls through the conveyor belt this way. It's actually probably thick enough not to, but I can actually put the same number plastic. If this is a number 2 and this salad box is a number 2, I can put them inside of each other and then send it off to the recycling facility that way. If it makes you feel better, you can put this black plastic tray in your recycling. Like I know some sushi trays have black on the bottom, etc. But this could also be considered a contamination depending on what facility it goes to. I'm gonna say 80% of the time it's considered contamination. So if you're feeling bad about that, if you're like, oh geez, I have this black plastic, like what do I do? You can reuse it. Like, you know, maybe the container can be used for some sort of storage thing. I don't recommend reusing it for hot foods. Don't heat up food in black plastic or any, you know, takeout container. If you can avoid it. Some people do like I'll put like cold sandwiches and chips in here. That's fine. Just don't heat up food in plastic. That's a whole different other workshop. But you, at the end of the day, just not ordering takeout is the solution to not having the black plastic problem when it comes to recycling. But you know, do what you can, and then just keep that in mind that black plastic is not recyclable. Carton. Now, here's a question for you guys that are watching. We got a bunch of people on Instagram, hello. And then we have a bunch of people on Zoom, hello. Here's a fun question. This carton, this is almond milk. This carton is a shiny outside, and you know it's paper because it's very light, and we know that it's part of it's paper. We can probably tear it apart and really find the paper, but it's shiny on the outside and it doesn't leak, and it doesn't look like it's wet, but we know that it can carry liquid. So where would this go if you have a dual stream recycling system where paper is separate and plastic is everywhere else? The answer to that is that this would go in with your plastic recycling. This mixture of paper and plastic is very, very hard to recycle. Like I was saying this before at the beginning, recycling is a commodity. It is something that is going to be taken and made into something else. Some things are easier to recycle. It's really easy to melt metal. It's somewhat easy to melt plastic if it's the same type of plastic. It's really easy to crush and melt glass. Like, and the easy being, we know how it melts. Maybe it takes a lot of energy, but that's a different point. So this paper and plastic mix is so hard to recycle. Like, you want the paper out of it, the plastic that's part of it's not high quality. Like, think about it. It's like, how thick is that plastic that's on there on the inside and outside? Like, that's not like a high quality plastic. So what do you do with this mix? You can't ever separate the paper and plastic. So what they do is they take this type of material, and what they do is they turn it into either like materials, like you know, other cartons. It's not likely that it'll be turned into another carton, but they will turn it into another degraded type of plastic or commodity. And it's not worth a lot, but they're all separated the same. So this milk carton will go in with the Tetra Paks. Like if you have, you know, broth containers that are like this plasticky, but come in like a paper plastic carton, apple juice cartons, milk cartons from school. Those are all go into the same category. Those will all be bundled up and sold as a certain type of commodity, a certain type of recycling. So I just want to, I have a lot to talk about. I have so many things I could talk about recycling. I could be here all day, but it is already 10:30 and I don't want to keep boring you about, and I want to get to a point where you guys can ask questions. So another point, so just about how things are recycled, we talked about plastic, a little, you know what, I'll reiterate a point. The types of plastic that containers are, it will tell you in that little triangle on the bottom or top of a container, it'll say 1, 2, 7. There are certain types of plastic that contain BPA and other types of chemicals that you really want to avoid if they're coming into contact with your food. Most of the time it's number 1, 2, 5, and 7 that come into contact with your food, and those are the ones that are least likely to leach into your food. Again, like, you know, you see baby bottles that say BPA free. Like they're getting better at knowing what plastic is okay for food. So at the recycling facility, eventually there's a point where there are manual sorters where there will be guys who are there and they'll see all of these things and they'll be like, they're just like, no, they've been doing this for so long. They've seen the Simply Orange juice bottle through so many times. They already know it's number 1 and they truck it into a bay, or they like, or, you know, I don't know if they're chalking it or whatever, or maybe they have their own slots in front of them and it shoots down. It depends on the facility, but you know, every recycling facility has these where they sort them. All right, that's number 1, that's number 2, that's, you know, they call these gable top or Tetra Packs or whatever you want to call it, like, and they throw those into a certain thing. What they're usually not touching is glass, because glass is so heavy that certain recycling facilities have an ability to take like the heavier stuff and put it through a different container. If it's lighter, it might end up with the plastic and that can still get sorted back into glass. Metal is really easy. Magnets for the steel containers. And then for aluminum, what they do is they have an electrostatic. It's actually the coolest thing that you've, like, one of the coolest things. What it has is there's a conveyor belt that comes up at an angle, and at that angle, there's the container on the conveyor belt, and it zaps, and it's just like an it's electrostatic. So what happens is there's an electricity, there's electricity in the air, but there's like a smarter way to say that. And what happens is it's attracted to the aluminum metal, and it creates this like action where it like zaps out of the conveyor belt. Like it just pops off and goes into a container for the aluminum. It is the craziest thing. And aluminum is the most recyclable material out there. You can take aluminum 100 times over and recycle it, and it will still be aluminum, and it can still be turned into more aluminum cans. Same thing with glass. You can crush glass and recycle it 1,000,000 times. The thing is, it's just really hard it's like machinery is really hard to crush glass. And we were talking before that darker colored glass, if it's mixed in, like people like pretty things. People like pretty things if they have like this like weird looking colored glass, like this like dark, like if I mix these two, it might be like a light brown. It might not be pretty. So when people are creating their product, they want to make sure that they're putting something that looks nice and pretty. So clear glass always looks good, or a single type of brown looks good. So, you know, that's essentially how they're recycling all of these different things. We've got, so again, so I was telling you that certain things are not recyclable in this pile. So these are recyclable. The salad container, I'm throwing these in there because they're about 3 inches. They shouldn't fall through the conveyor belt. This is recyclable. I've got some dip containers. And again, like they're pretty clean. Aluminum cans. This is not recyclable at the moment because it's got yogurt in it. So we don't want to throw that in the recycling bin. Once I clean this, yes, it's recyclable. Cleaned out cans, just put the lid inside the can. More containers, and then glass. So those are the things that are recyclable in a dual stream. Like, of course, there's more stuff that can be recyclable. I don't have one of everything, but that's the gist of it. When you have paper, what you want to do is with your paper like this, your like menus and instructions that come in boxes. This is like a paper label from like knee pads that I had to get for some work in the house. This stuff is recyclable, but as you can tell, it's like light and fluffy and it can go anywhere. Oh, you know what? I will make one note. This receipt, not recyclable. Receipts are actually a contamination in paper products. If one slips in, they're not gonna like do everything they possibly can to take it out, but receipts are not recyclable. They are made of a type of material that when it heats up, it creates like a different color. So this was created on a like on a heat, you know, receipt printer. And so it heated the paper up and it created this black mark, which we think is ink. It's not ink. There would be a lot of ink that they would be wasting. So they just heat it up. And actually, small, you know, quick note, many receipts do contain BPA, so don't touch them. Now I have to wash my hands. But anyways, so I took the receipt off, got my menu, got my papers, and I've got some flattened pasta box, flattened 6-pack box, and then here I arrive at a pizza box, like a frozen pizza box. Please don't judge anything that I show you, by the way. Like, oh, I can't believe she was eating that branch. Like, these are just, like, listen, we're all human. Sometimes we order from Applebee's and we get a black container. Like, we just do our best when we can. Back to what I was saying. So what you want to do is with all of these papers, if you can, try to put them into that pizza box. Or if you use your pasta box, if you don't fold it, you can stuff your loose papers in there. And the reason why you want to do that is just because it's all going to get shredded anyways, like shredded like you would at your office with, you know, confidential paperwork, but it's all going to get shredded and turned into a pulp. So it doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't really matter, like, if these are loose or this is together. It's all going to go through the same machinery. Don't worry, the machinery can take it. And it's actually a little bit less messy for the recycling facility. This should fit in there. Now notice that these are all, like, this isn't like the corrugated cardboard. This isn't cardboard that's like, these are all very similar in width. Here's another pasta jar. So like I can put all of that in there, and actually it makes my recycling a little bit easier to handle. Now let's get a little more advanced. So I ordered some Blue Cube last week and they gave me like $50 worth of free stuff or something. They're like crazy over there. But anyways, so the tag for this towel came with this paper top, but with this little plastic hook. In order to recycle this paper, I have to remove the plastic hook. Now, maybe I use this on arts and crafts for kids that are like over 7 and won't eat this. But now that this paper doesn't have that plastic, I can recycle it. And the best way to do that, considering how tiny it is, to put it into a bigger box, okay? All right, let's talk about some of the things that might contaminate paper recycling. So, like I said, I was at Thrive last week. I got some vegan food from Pittsfield, and I was so excited that like all my containers were not plastic. They were some type of paper. And actually, because they were all goopy and they were wet because of the food, I'm going to compost those paper containers. But then I realized that this container, you can see it with the light, it's shiny. So you know what that tells me is that this is not, paper's not shiny like that. Paper, like, you know what else is shiny like that? I'm gonna have recycling all over my floor after this. This is shiny like that. This is a gable top, milk carton. And so this shininess, like this is not gonna fly. This has got some sort of plastic coating. So if you're asking yourself, can it go with these? It can't. And the reason why is mostly because the recycling facility is gonna see this. And if it's closed, they don't know what's in it. And if it's open, I just don't know. It's really a human thing. Like, is a human being going to say, oh, this belongs in gable top? And really, there's not a lot of, layers to this. This is mostly paper. And look, it even says it has our recycling symbol on the bottom. This is mostly paper with a shiny interior. You can try to recycle it in through paper, but it's highly unlikely that it's not as valuable as like this stuff. And I know this stuff has a lot of ink on it, but I don't know. Hey, it's Rainforest Action certified, and it's made from post-consumer recycled content. So when you see products that say post-consumer recycled content, that means they did take your paper that you recycled and they turned it into something else. So I want to be honest with you. I'm going to recycle this, but I'm also like, I know that there's another product out there that if I talk to Thrive and I'm like sitting down and having a coffee with them, I'm probably going to say like, hey guys, let's try to get something that doesn't have that lining in it, or find something different. Definitely not going towards plastic. Like, I don't want to go to a plastic thing, but maybe this is the closest thing that they have. I'm not sure, but this is something that could potentially be considered a contamination. And I'm not going to put it in like this. I'm going to flatten it and put it with the boxes. So the big question, what do people always ask me? Mary, are pizza boxes recyclable? The answer is yes. But look here. My example was supposed to have pizza in here, but I can tell that I think my dog got to this. Actually, there were little chunks of cheese in here yesterday. So this right now is considered, this is like on the cusp of recycled. Now, definitely the cover of this pizza box is recyclable. There's no grease on it. There's no food. There's actually not even any ink on it. This is like regular corrugated cardboard as far as we're concerned. Now, this grease might be too much grease. If it was like half as much, let's recycle it. If there was chunks of cheese, no. Half as much grease, fine. Chunks of cheese, half a pizza piece left in there, nope. My dogs did a really good job of looking up crumbs. Don't worry about a little bit of crumbs. You know what? Bring it over to your sink, do a little tap-tappity, get those crumbs out, and then just recycle it. With this, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rip it in half. I'm not gonna do it right here because I don't want to embarrass myself, but I'm gonna rip it in half and I'm gonna send them separately. If they end up, when they get to the recycling facility, that way that they'll be like, okay, this is regular corrugated cardboard, and then they'll see the grease and then they can decide, okay, that's too much or that's whatever. They did say at my most recent MRF meeting that they can handle grease in recycling. It's like they can handle it. I don't know what that means. So that's why I'm going to send this. But no food, no junk, no icky. All right. So we've gone over the basics. We've gone over the facilities. We've gone over all of this stuff. But what about the things that also have recycling symbols on them? I just want to move that stuff out of the way. All right, so let's talk about plastic bags. Let's talk about plastic bags. All right, so we've got all different types of plastic in our lives. We've got plastic bags from the store. If you're not using reusable bags, you might be using plastic bags at the store. For some reason, organic bananas sometimes come in these plastic bags. Packaging from shipping, like these used to be bubbles, and I popped them. Suet Plus, I guess. Suet cakes for birds. come in plastic, and then you've got your coffee. Like this is a mask that I got from Birds Bees. Some dog food bags. All this plastic, what are we gonna do with it? Here's what we're gonna do with it. We're gonna analyze it piece by piece. And eventually you're gonna know offhand, like, nope, that's not recyclable. Yes, it is recyclable. And where to recycle it. This coffee bag, it smells good. But this is not recyclable. Most coffee bags are multi-layered, and they get caught in the gears at the recycling facility. Some things I didn't talk about that aren't recyclable, that are really bad for the recycling facility, are wipes. These wipes are made of plastic and potentially other materials, but in order to stay together and woven, most of them are made with plastic. So wipes are not paper. They don't go with the paper recycling, and they're not plastic. Don't put them in with the plastic. Do you think that they're going to turn this into a bottle? Very, very hard to do that. When it's like this. And how many would they actually need in order to make it worth their while to create a facility to turn these into something else? Because they're also made of plastic, these are not flushable. These are like, this is like a wipe, like Clorox wipe. Even 7th generation wipes are mostly like can have plastic in them. And you can check their website or do some little research depending on the brand that you're using. Like this is actually a hand sanitizer wipe, which is like the silliest thing, because I can add hand sanitizer to my hands and just like there, or I can spray a cloth and wipe my hands with that. Like these are just the silliest thing. But this is not recyclable. It's not flushable. It's trash. It needs to go in the trash. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. Gloves, same thing. Made from plastic, but not recyclable. Things like gloves, jump ropes, internet cables. Like, of course, we want to find a new home for them that isn't a trash can. But if you send a plastic bag or gloves or these stretchy types of things to the recycling facility, they're going to get tangled. They're called tanglers. They're going to get tangled into the teeth of the machines, because these machines are built for these items. It cannot, like, they're made for big items that move around. They're not made for flexible, stretchy things that are like, especially if they're long and they can get tied up. You ever like get a string from a rug or something that gets so tied up in your vacuum, and it's just there for years, and then finally you pull on it and it just goes and goes and goes, and you just keep pulling it. That's what happens at the recycling facility, only it's not a vacuum cleaner. It's a huge machine that these recycling guys, they got to turn the machine off. They have to put on all their protective equipment and hope to God that somebody, everybody's doing everything they possibly can not to turn that machine back on, because they're these huge teeth and these things are caught up in them. So don't put any type of filmy plastic, jump ropes, internet kit, like don't put anything that can tangle machines into your recycling bins. So gloves, everybody's got gloves nowadays. Personally, I have about 5 pairs, like Monday through Friday. Not really Monday, I'm not going out that much. But like when I go to the grocery store, like I go to my oldest pair from days ago. The coronavirus only lasts like 72 hours on plastic or something, but what I do is when I come home, I put them on at the sink. I wash my hands like with the gloves on, and then I let them dry, and then I let days go by. So I'm reusing my gloves. That's just who I am. I'm earthy crunchy, but not recyclable. Throw them in the trash if you're gonna throw them away. Okay. So plastic bags, what you want to look for is a recycle symbol. You can't see that. Why do I think you can see that? So there is a little recycle symbol on that. It says number 5 in the middle. This one says store drop off. This is not recyclable. This is a netting from like lemons. This is highly, highly dangerous to the environment. What I am going to do is when I go to throw this away, I'm going to cut it up so that nothing, like if this for some reason ends up not in the trash, I wish I could burn it, but that would be bad for the environment too. Like everything's bad for the environment about this. It's plastic, it's just bad. But I'm gonna cut it up because you can, like, things can get stuck in it. It can, like, I just don't, it's just bad. So bags, so we've got the suet, got the organic bananas. This has the number 4. This had a number 5, and this had store drop off. These bags, what I'm gonna do, what I do is I have a bag of bags just in my house. I actually put it at the top of my basement stairs where my recycling is anyways, and I just stuff bags in there. Another example, something I have in here, they're like all too big to pull out. This is a grape bag, and it actually doesn't have a number in the recycling symbol. I don't know if you can see that, but I put that in here because it did have a recycling symbol on it. And essentially, all my plastic bags that have a recycling symbol go into this bag. And then where I bring this is I can either bring it to Target in Lanesboro, where over by the Pizza Hut, over by like the, like the coolers for Pizza Hut, they have like this countertop system where they have 4 different recyclable containers. They have one specifically for plastic bags. I put mine there just because by the time this is big enough, it's time for a trip to Target. And then alternatively, any redemption center, well, I say any, but every redemption center should have a plastic bag recycling bin. Just because you're using garbage bags probably to move all of those redeemable bottles and cans. Yeah, so you can save these up, bring them to a redemption center or to, like I said, Target in Lanesboro. I know for sure the Price Choppers have, a recycling bin for these. So that's where those go. They don't go in your blue bin. They go in that special container. And if you can't find it, just ask the clerk and say, hey, where's your recyclable container? This coffee bag, no recycling symbol, and it's a really funky bag. Like it's got like, it's like thick. Like once you get the feel for those recyclable bags, most of them are clear. They like they're highly moldable and stuff. Like they're stretchy. They have a number 4, number 5 recycling symbol on them. Once you get the feel for them, you get to you start to understand like certain things just aren't recyclable. Now let's talk about these 2 other bags, these plastic containers. These are not recyclable. They don't have the recycle symbol on them. But they are what they call TerraCyclable. T-E-R, recycle, TerraCycle. So what it is I'm gonna try to put this up close to the screen so you guys can see it, but it has this little infinity symbol. And that is a special company that takes certain brands that subscribe to their company and they say, hey, you can sell your product in plastic. What we'll do is we'll collect your product's packaging, we'll turn it into something else. And then they have a variety of things they turn it into. But essentially, this is not gonna go into my blue bag outside. This is my dog food bag. I actually buy this food specifically because A, it's recyclable, but B, because it's sustainable farming. But what I do is I save all of my bags in a box, and when the box is full, I print out the label and I ship it off to the TerraCycle. Like it's free. I get to recycle this plastic. That really helps. Certain dog food bags are pellet bags. If they say like the recycling symbol number 4 or number 5, don't put it in with your other bags or like your shopping bags. If it's like a woven plastic, chicken feed bags, pellet bags. They have the capability of being recycled. There is currently no one to take them, and there's no market to sell them. So this is one of those examples where recyclable symbol, or recycle symbol, says, yes, hey, yeah, oh, you can recycle this. It's like, no, in your dreams, there's nowhere that will take it. Although if you do have chicken feed bags or dog food bags that are that woven type of plastic, there are bag share projects around the county that you can donate those bags to if they're clean. This Burt's Bees mask thing, same thing. They have a TerraCycle symbol on it. Oh, I gotta fix my phone again. My battery is dying on my phone, so I apologize, Instagram, for not catching it. There's the TerraCycle symbol on this Burt's Bees package. Same thing. I can keep all of these together. Burt's Bees makeup, Burt's Bees anything. All of their items are TerraCyclable. I can put them in a box. I can ship them off. Because we've been at this for an hour, I'm just going to speed through textiles and batteries. Textiles. I had a bad accident in the kitchen. I burned that. This napkin, I could probably reuse this for something else. But if I'm not feeling motivated, if I don't have a sewing project.
It's 11 o'clock.
Oh. The live video ended. Let me just open that back up real quick. Oh, I guess it won't let me. Huh. Well, I apologize to those 5 people on Instagram that just got shut out from the video, but I'll finish up. If I'm not feeling motivated, or if I actually do keep a lot of things that are this solid because I can use them for something else. But for example, this sweater, if I wanted to pay $1,000, I could probably buy this sweater like off of those funny websites that like the fashion websites. But this sweater has a bunch of holes and stuff like that in it. Bad underwear, underwear goes bad. Socks with holes that you just can't repair anymore. Hello, Instagram. Oh, my phone's talking. We have technical difficulties. Participating from Zoom, and we have a couple of people on Instagram. Anyways, so textiles I keep in a bag in my above my washer and dryer. So if I find stuff that's just not going to get used anymore or repaired, I put that in a space. Batteries, you can put in bags like this, and then when you have time, you can. Oh, actually, there's a bad battery in here. What you want to do is with any batteries, like watch batteries and stuff, you want to put them in a baggie like this. Or you can cover it in tape. This is a cell phone battery. And then what I do is at Berkshire Zero Waste, we have the big green box where we fill this up with batteries for free. You can drop off your batteries to us, or you can find a local, if there's somewhere local that has one of these, you can bring it to them. But essentially what we do is we load up the box until it's about 40 to 60 pounds, depending on the type of batteries that we get. And we load these up and we ship them out, and then they get recycled. You can throw away regular alkaline batteries, like from your TV remote, but it's really bad for the environment because it's just bad for the environment. Like I could talk, if you have questions about that, I can answer them. But hearing aid batteries, watch batteries, etc., they all have different ways that they get packed up. But again, you can recycle them with the big green box. Lastly, light bulbs. They are recyclable to an extent. LED light bulbs have some components that can be recycled. The glass probably won't get recycled. The metal can be recycled. But what I do is I keep these in a bag until I have a bunch of them, and then at the next hazardous waste day, I bring them there, and then I find wherever the light bulb place is, and I put them in there. That place also contains, like, you know, the hard to recycle stuff, like you know, the baluster kind of light bulbs and stuff like that. So that's it for today. That was a really long workshop or webinar. So I apologize if I just talked my mouth off, but if anybody has any questions,
I have a question.
I'm happy to answer them.
Can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi.
What's your question?
Mary, this was so helpful. I'm sorry I was a little late. It's really hard to get through grocery stores these days.
No, that's great.
So I watched the Plastics movie.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember where it was.
The story of plastic in Great Barrington?
Yeah.
Yep.
So part of my delay was getting to Guido's and being committed to take my own container and fill it up, and now we can't do that. Because
I know. Yeah, for now.
I'm going to ask a really, really naive question, so don't laugh, okay?
We're laughing.
I'm from the Midwest, so it's pretty flat there, not a lot of trees, and there's so many trees here. So in Pittsfield, they burn the trash, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why is that so bad, since the carbon that comes from that is used by the trees? I mean, and what other options do we have for trash?
Ooh, you've got a good question. So essentially the major thing that's in trash that we don't want to burn is plastic. Fossil fuels, right? You know, we can burn wood and it's not nearly as bad. It's, you know, it's wood actually burns naturally, like for forest fires and stuff. But plastic, when you burn plastic, there's tons of junk in there. I have a really good diagram that I'll try to look up and maybe I can share my screen. But there's all these chemicals that when you're burning trash, there's all of these chemicals that are going to affect your brain, your lungs, your reproductive system, your organs, that are just like nasty, nasty stuff. And they have filters at the incinerating facility that no, there's like, I don't think there's any way I can find this diagram without, because I have like thousands of pictures, but I have this really great diagram from one of my presentations of like of all of the chemicals that come out. So to answer your question, carbon, yeah, can be absorbed by trees, but we are putting more into the atmosphere than trees are taking down. I think we have 50% less trees than before the industrial age. So not only are we putting more into the environment, but we're taking less back into the soil. And also it's not just carbon. We've got nitrogen oxide, we've got carbon monoxide, methane, all this like bad stuff that again affects your, like the diagram I have, it has like top 8 bad chemicals, just the top 8, not all of them. And then like all of the, like in like how it affects each and everything, it like affects your brain, affects your eyes, affects your like, of course you're breathing it in. So it,
The movie was really helpful in describing that also. The movie on plastics,
yeah,
really, really helpful. I wish everybody could see it, but I don't know what else we can do.
It's actually available right now from April 15th to May 15th. The Story of Plastic by The Story of Stuff. And you can find it on the Discovery. It'll be on the Discovery Channel for free on Earth Day. So if people have that on the cable the Discovery Channel will be there on Earth Day. They can also go on like the Discovery app and a couple other different apps. But they want it to be free. They want people to watch it. And we're actually at Berkshire Zero Waste Initiative, we're trying to find a way to do a virtual screening where we have one link. We share it with everybody who subscribes to our news, like to Beat to, and that way, like everybody can just watch it at one time and it's free and you don't have to have cable or Discovery Go or anything like that.
So I'm still struggling, as the city's reconsidering what else do they do with trash? Because, we saw the movies of what happens when it goes in the ocean or when it's landfills and people won't take our trash anymore. So I love what you're doing, that let's keep as much as we can out of the trash, but some of it, like you said, is just not cost effective or efficient enough to make it worth it. So it has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Where else can it go?
That's the problem that is solved by going backwards, which is not having it. So we have a lot of stuff right now. Reuse as much as you can. Be earthy, crunchy, like own it. People come over and they're like, "Oh, where's your trash can?" I'm like, "What do you have?" Because like, "Oh, I have bones from wings." Like, okay, well, I actually have a freezer bag and put that in there, and then I bring it to a farm where their compost gets hot enough. Like, but all of these things, like you develop over time, you develop all of this, like these practices and habits. So really it's just like thinking backwards. Like, yes, I have stuff now, like I have this, very unfortunately I have this, because like I know how bad this is for the environment. I don't even remember why I have this, but it's just thinking backwards. There's things called extended producer reliability, which is, for example, I bought a mattress 20 years ago. It's had a good life. I'm done with it. The producer, let's say CERTA, would have the responsibility of recycling that material. So whenever you see in legislature extended producer responsibility, that means that the producer is responsible for the product its entire life, not just when it's on the shelf, but for its entire life, which is why like Pepsi and Coke and Mars, which makes candy, they don't want that. They don't want to handle the M&M's wrapper, but they think that everything's great. But they don't have to clean up after it. They're not doing the litter cleanups and stuff. So, just try. I know that's like not the question that you wanted to hear, but
well, I think that's helpful too. I mean, we need to take action on any level that we can. Yeah. And right now, it just feels like, okay, what can I do?
Yeah, and actually, it's a very dangerous time for being against plastic, because everybody was like, no plastic, let's cut it out. And then all of a sudden the coronavirus hit. Yeah. And then we're all like, oh, thank God for plastic gloves. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Bags again. Yeah.
Or the bags are back. There is no scientific evidence to say that those plastic bags are safer to handle my food than the bag that I have from home.
Right. I agree.
It's like, and then, so actually, what I'm doing right now, because I can't use reusable bags, is I just put everything back into the cart. And I just bring it out to my car and I put it into my reusable bag.
Exactly what I did today. Yep. Yeah. Yes.
It's kind of funny, but.
Okay. So just a couple practical ones. Do you need to go?
Sorry?
You need to go?
No, I've got time. Okay. There is no.
And glass jars that have metal lids or some kind of other kinds of lids, do you take the lids off?
It's up to you. I actually keep the lids for art projects for local schools. I have a few art teachers that will take them, and then they make murals about not having plastic for kids. So
and what do you do with your bag of textiles? You put them in a bag on a shelf, and then what?
I didn't say what to do. So what I do is there are these donation bins. I'm closest to City of Pittsfield, so that's why I say Pittsfield all the time. But
that's where I am.
Okay. So near the Applebee's, like if you drew a line from the front of Applebee's to the front of Barnes & Noble, there's a recycling bin. It's actually usually full of trash, but there is a recycling bin for textiles there. And it says recycle on it. So I know that no matter what, they're going to get recycled. If you see donation bins, that's where you want to bring like your usable stuff to be reworn. But, and you can bring your torn stuff there too, but it's like I don't have the confidence in those donation bins that they're going to recycle them.
Right.
It is throw them away. Because the donation bins want to sell them for their nonprofit or for whatever they're doing.
So on that one, I have toured Goodwill, so they could inform me of what materials. Like t-shirt material is a big one because they cut it up for rags. Yep. And some of it they bundle and send over somewhere else for textile reuse kind of things. But some of it they just have to throw away. So it's just finding like, I like it when you used local examples like Target and that recycling place, and for the bags. Because
Mhm.
we've been taking ours to Harry's. They recycle the
Yep.
grocery store bags but I don't know if, can we put those other bags in there with them? All the ones that don't have 4 or 5 on them.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
And the reason why, so actually, let me step back. I have. For example, I pulled out a grape bag that had a recycle symbol on it, but I know I have another grape bag in there that does not have a recycle symbol on it. So because I know that the grape bags generally are recyclable in that stream, I will group them together. Some packaging, like if I get like FedEx will send you like a plastic bag with papers in it. Like I know that a lot of those bags do have recyclable symbols on it, and if it's like one of those intuitive things. Like once I know like what is recyclable,
Right.
then okay, I don't feel so bad adding things in. But it's once you have to get into the groove and understand, because if you're like, oh well, I don't know it too much, but this coffee bag seems like it's recyclable. It's probably it's probably not. Actually, you know what I do is I take these things off and I use them as twist ties. I like actually keep them.
Reusing.
Like just get used to thinking.
So the
like,
guideline from the movie that I remember, and I could be remembering it wrong, was that if there's multiple materials in it, you wouldn't recycle it. So I have not been recycling my almond milk cartons because of that. I've just been trashing them.
So you can where do you live? You live in Pittsfield?
Yes.
You can put them in your plastic container.
Okay.
With your plastics. And I know that because they do take them. Like
Okay.
I walked the facility a bunch of times. They have their own bay, their own section, the label on the top says Gable. So you can recycle them. The plastic cap, keep it on there if you have plastic cap for those.
Okay.
Keep all plastic caps on, unless like for like a water bottle, like the single-use water bottles, you crush them and then put the cap on, because they're going to get crushed anyway. So if the cap pops off, it's out of there. But if it stays on the bottle, it's gonna
Okay.
get recycled.
Wow, those are really practical little tips. Can anyone go to the recycling center and watch that? Because I think watching them with tanglers and things, that was very graphic too.
Yeah. So right now they're not doing any tours, but
Right. That's right.
as soon as we're back up and running, there is the board that I'm on, the MRF advisory board. We have a budget for a person to do the tours. So we like to do tours with like a bunch of people. So like 5 to 10 is pretty comfortable, because you get to go up into the like this hallway that's specific for the education piece, and like you can see that all happening. You can see the zapping happening like right in front of you. It's crazy.
Yeah, I want to see that. How do we sign up?
So you would go to the MRF recycling facility website. Pretty
What
sure.
what are those letters?
MRF. So
MRF.
Springfield Materials Recycling Facility.
MRF.
Sorry?
All right, because
Yep.
I was a teacher in the Midwest, and I took students to landfill so that they would see what happens to your trash, and that was many years ago before all of this. So
Yeah.
my heart is with you, Mary, but I'm still learning a lot. So thank you.
Hey, you know what? Let me tell you a quick story. You know how I started this was 3 years ago. And it's like, I used to say a year ago, 2 years ago, now 3 years ago. I was, oh, how cool am I? I'm not drinking with straws. Like I was like, I'm not drinking my Starbucks coffee with straws, but I still had the Starbucks cup and lid. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's where I started. And now I'm taking these things off of, coffee bags. Like, oh, I'm going to use that later. Like become, or I think like own it. Like,
Yep.
And be like, I just don't know. Like, I'm going to ask, or I'm going to Google. And a lot of the stuff, like unfortunately, because it takes more time, but fortunately, there are a lot of alternatives to things that cause trash simply because you can do it yourself. So we actually have a lot of recipes for, like, there was a lady named Sonia on here before. She was like, well, what do I do with like detergent bottles? And so I was like, well, we have a recipe. That's what I use. Like, I don't have to buy any
Hey.
anymore. And it's,
Where's the recipe?
I can email it to you. I need to, my website is kind of garbage. There's not much I have that's garbage, but my website.
I do better with emails anyway.
Yeah, so I can always email them.
There's no chat feature on here. I don't see a chat feature. So do I have to just tell you what it is, or do you want to give me your email and I'll send
Oh
you?
yeah, let me get the recipe. It's right around the corner. So we have recipes for a bunch of stuff. So last week, my first webinar that I did from home. We did cleaners and disinfectants and hand sanitizer.
Okay.
And so there's that. And then for clothes washer detergent, what you need is a bar of Castile soap. You know Castile soap?
Yep.
Dr. Bronner's, it will come in a little paper package.
Is that small?
Huh?
Oh, okay. It's like a regular bar of soap.
Yeah, it is, but you want the Castile. You can actually make it too, but that's really, like, that's more packaging than you need. So you have a 1 bar of the Castile soap, and you're going to grate it, or you can put it in a food processor to chop it up. And then 1 cup of baking soda. And then 1 cup of washing soda or borax. So washing soda is when you put baking soda into the oven and you bake it. I used to know offhand how to do, like, I think it's 250 degrees for like 5 to 10 minutes. So washing soda is different than baking soda. You would have a cup of baking soda and then a cup of washing soda. You can bake the baking soda, get washing soda, or you can buy borax, which is in the laundry section in the box with the little metal spout. So you need like a bar of Castile soap, a cup of baking soda, and then a cup of washing soda or borax. And then if you want, you can add a couple drops of essential oil to add scent. But I don't put scent in the washer. I have wool dryer balls for my dryer, and I add essential oils to that to help the laundry smell nice.
Okay. Because the dryer sheets are not recyclable either, right? They're kind of like hand wipes.
Some of them are. So I think Guido sells like a paper type, like a natural paper kind that you can compost. Why would I spend like $10 every month? Yeah. They sell dryer balls there, like 3 or 4 of them, and I just drop essential oils on them, and then they reduce my dry time. They save me energy. It's like for the most part, reduce static cling. Some of them, like I have this one blanket that it doesn't work for, but.
Wow. Boy, you're just full of information.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I do these, actually, I do these as a workshop. So usually we a bunch of people get together and we make a bunch of stuff, and then you bring it home. So you feel like you have control over the stuff.
Right. Nice. Okay. Well, I won't keep you. I think I'm the only one.
I see that there is one other person, Lynn. I don't know if you're still there, but do you have any questions?
Just to unmute.
Oh, here, let me see if I can unmute her. Lynn, I unmuted you.
I have no questions. It's been great information. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Be well.
Bye.